Howdy, folks. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. Um, Sorry, I'm running a little bit late today. Uh, had my have my girls are still off. They're going back to school tomorrow, so yeah, they've been making me a little crazy. It's not gonna let me share it. You pain in the butt. Hold on a second, please, before I forget myself. Need to save something so that way I don't lose it. Because what I was going to try to do, it wasn't letting me. Go away. All right. Sorry about that. I had planned on throwing up a little thing here, but apparently my computer doesn't want to let me do it the way I was thinking I was going to do it. So, well, I'm still figuring this out. So, well, whatever. So, what I wanted to talk about today is that in working toward positive, good mental health, um, it takes work. You know, it's not one of those things that'll happen overnight. It's not one of those things that's going to be easy to do. Um, it takes work, it takes effort, and it takes consistency at it. And yeah, just like with a lot of other things, you're going to have days when you aren't able to really um, maintain the even keel that you're trying to. But the important thing is that you just get back up and you keep on going. Um, you may stumble, you may fall, but the important thing is to keep going. Um, and what I was wanting to share, and I will share it after this live, I'll throw it into the comments. Um, was a quote that I found on a friend's timeline, and it says that before I could manage my emotions, I had to accept my emotions. Before acceptance, I had to identify my emotions. Before identifying, I had to acknowledge them. And before acknowledgement, I had to be honest with myself. And this took work. And that really got me thinking that there's a lot of steps to maintaining or achieving good mental health. Um, and each of those steps, each of those processes, um, hi Freya, each of these processes are things that take time and they take effort. Um, so, the first one of the big first keys to good mental health is being able to be honest with yourself. Because if you're deceiving yourself, then you're not going to be able to achieve much, because mental health starts from a place of honesty. Because if you're deceiving yourself, that's not good mental health, and you're not going to achieve anything in reality the way that you would want to. So you need to be honest with yourself, and you need to look at how things are going. Um, and then you need to identify how you're feeling. And because mental health deals a lot with your emotions. So once you have started to identify your emotions, you need to figure out where those emotions are coming from. And you need to accept that the emotions you may have are valid emotions. Now, the reason you may be experiencing some of these emotions may not be valid, but the fact that you are feeling them is valid. So Once you identify your emotions and you start to identify where they're coming from, that's where you have to accept some certain things. You have to accept that your emotions are valid. You have to accept that what is causing these emotions may be out of your control. You cannot control another person. You can only control how you respond to it. So if it's something that, like, if with your spouse or your partner, then it's something that you guys need to talk about. When this happens, I feel this way. Don't say you do this. Stop with the accusatory stuff. It's not going to help anybody. But let them know that when X happens, I feel Y. And that's the letter Y, not the word Y. So that way you can work through and communicate to change how you're having, what's causing that emotion, if it's something that you need to change. Or if it's a good emotion, when you bring me home treats from work, I feel valued, then that's something that you're encouraging them to continue doing. So you need to accept that kind of emotional response, and that you can manage some of it, and some of it is going to be beyond your control as far as the causes of these emotions, but how you choose to respond to them is absolutely within your control. And by accepting these emotions, you're able to manage them, is what I was talking about. Either working with the person who is causing certain types of emotions that you don't want to feel, or, you know, letting them know, hey, this makes me feel good. I really want you to keep doing that. So that's the big thing. You know, before you can manage, you have to accept. Before you can accept, you have to identify. And before you can identify, you have to acknowledge that you're feeling these things. And before you can acknowledge anything, you got to start with being honest with yourself. And every single one of these steps takes time, and it takes some effort. Now, as you get more proficient in this, it may not take as much time to go through all the steps. And another aspect of it is if you know that this certain thing happening causes you anger or frustration, if it goes on too long, you can identify when those things are coming up and be able to head it off at the pass. So that's another big thing about, you know, identifying them and where the root is of what's causing these emotions and that kind of thing. So that way you can identify the situations where you're likely to encounter that and remove yourself from them. There are certain things that I just don't deal with anymore because I know I'm not going to have a positive emotional response to them, that I'm going to be stressed out, that I'm going to be angry, frustrated, want to yell, want to punch, want to kick things, you know. I have the ability to have an extremely violent temper. So I realize that when my anger emotions are starting to build, I need to remove myself from whatever is causing that. Sometimes that means daddy has to take a time out and the kids need to take a time out, and 15, 20 minutes later, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this, but we're not going to talk about it right now because we're both too angry to talk, and that's not a good thing. So, and that's another thing. In modeling these behaviors for my children, I'm trying to teach them how they can manage their emotions, because let's face it, emotions are a very powerful thing. And if you don't learn how to manage them, they will run roughshod over you, and you will have pure emotional responses to things without engaging any kind of thinking, and that leads to all kinds of negative things. So, again, I'm going to post this image in the comments after I'm done with my live here, and if you guys have any questions on strategies that I use for certain things, feel free to ask. Comment away down here. And by the way, if you're catching this on the, if you're watching live, you'll see the live right about here. And if you're not seeing that red live there, that means you're catching it on the replay. Drop me a hashtag replay down there so I can see when you're that you whether you're watching this live or not. And tomorrow we're going to be doing tips and tricks, and I'm going to be discussing the importance of adequate light, and I'm going to be doing some examples right here live. You're going to see me get up. I'm going to like shut windows and that kind of stuff and drop the light level down. I'm going to draw way too high, and I'm going to show you how you need to kind of balance that a little bit. So that will be tomorrow's Tuesday's tips. And then Wellness Wednesday, we're going to talk more about nutrition, because I'm getting ready to go into a big challenge where I am going to be doing 6 weeks of resetting my body, changing a lot of things about my diet, and working toward having a healthier diet. Means I'm not giving up some of my favorite things, but I'm going to have them a lot less often, and I'm going to find alternatives to them, and I may find things that I like just as much as some of the things that I'm not going to be having as often. So, and there could be a whole mental health aspect to that too, because if you're not feeling positive about your body, you're not feeling positive about your health, that's another whole thing that we could talk about on another Monday. Well, until next time, folks, y'all have a great afternoon. I'm going to start working with my kids to finish up their Pinewood Derby cars, because we have the Pinewood Derby for the Cub Scout pack coming up Saturday, and I got to corral them now that they've had lunch and get them to finish this stuff up. So until next time, folks, peace, love, and photography, and remember, everything can make a beautiful image, including you. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye.